Hey, davidtswood here, and welcome to My Extra Mile. Today I'm talking to two extraordinary multi-millionaires who are going to talk to you about the power of generosity and the art of really giving and what that does for your life in creating an extraordinary life. So enjoy the show. Don't forget to subscribe, hit notifications, and please get involved with the conversations. Make a comment. I'll see you on the other side. Enjoy. Welcome back, Jen and Jono. For those that don't know, your success, I love it. I love the fact that you've been able to really design the life you wanted in all areas, in the growth area, in the health area, in the adventure area, in the relationship area, but then also in the things. You've created the things you want, the animals and the horses and the lifestyle, which I think is beautiful. Let's talk a little bit about generosity and giving, because one of the things we all understand, the three of us understand, being happy and successful, typically when we dig into, and you have a lot of very happy and a lot of successful and financially well-off friends, we all seem to have this one thing in common, that generosity is a big factor in the journey. And not that we had to have a lot of money to start it. We kind of started the generosity part typically when there wasn't a lot of cash around. We were generous people early on. So talk to me a little bit about your philosophy, Jen, on generosity. What is it? Is it a magnet? Is it reciprocity? Is there this thing that we put out and somehow it magically comes back? What is it?
Well, it does feel like that, doesn't it? Once you get it, it's like, whatever you do, it's tenfold. But it's funny, a friend of mine, we were talking about this once, and he's a super successful guy. I think he's a billionaire or something.
Probably would be, yeah.
In that. Anyway, he's young. He's younger than us. He's just.
Oh, he's definitely a billionaire now. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. He's just incredible. And we're talking about general.
Jono's thinking, how many billion? Oh yeah, who's that? No, he's not billion. Who's that? It's lovely when you've got more than one billionaire in your life. It's like, oh yeah, Paul or Steve? Who are you talking about?
Yeah, we're talking about millions a year. He's talking about hundreds of millions a month, right? Like it's a whole different place that he plays. Yeah. But he actually introduced me to TED Talks years ago. And he used to come over. He was single then. He used to come over for dinner every Friday night. And I'd cook dinner. And we just chatted about really cool stuff. He'd bring a few beers. And it just kind of went from there. But we were talking about this concept of generosity and giving, and whether it's actually selfless or not. And, what we end up kind of coming to is it might look like, she's so generous, or they gave so much, but he's like, really, Jen, you don't do it. You do it because it makes you feel good. At the end of the day, you get the buzz from giving. You get the buzz from knowing that you made a difference. And so he's like, so is it selfless, or is it self-serving? This whole giving thing. And yeah, so we had this great conversation, and I do get a buzz. I get a buzz from giving. And, I gave a horse to a guy a couple of days ago, and a horse that I rescued and fed him up, and he's nice and fat and shiny now, and he's beautiful. And I was just able to give him to a guy, and a guy who has a lot less than us, but yeah, for sure I get a buzz. He sends me some photos, and he's sitting on this horse, and he's loving this horse, and he can't believe someone just gave him a horse. It's probably worth about $5-7 grand, this horse. This is not like a huge gift, but to him, it's pretty significant. So yeah, and it's funny, I see in business, this concept of generosity, I think we could talk about it for so long. It's generosity, I think, in expectation around people, and sometimes we're harsh on each other, right? Because we expect people to show up and be a certain way, and then when they don't show up in the way that we expected, we can be a bit, I don't know, judgy and kind of, they're not who I thought they were. Or it's like, where's the generosity in allowing people to make mistakes, or to have a bad day and to go through some stuff and
well, you're talking about generosity of spirit, which I love. You know, when we talk about generosity of spirit, you know, this is the evolution, I think, you know, because the two parts: generosity of giving, generosity of spirit, where, you know, we meet people where they're at, we give people the benefit of the doubt, we forgive quickly. When people make mistakes, we don't gossip about them, we talk to them. I mean, that's a very courageous giving, because, you know, it's a very truthful, transparent, honest part of giving like that. And I think they're two very, very, I mean, we could have a whole show just about transparent or generosity of spirit versus generosity of giving, but they do come close together though, right?
Hmm.
Well, you either get generosity or you don't, really. So, and once you get it, then you can't not act with it, I don't think, because it's the most powerful, beautiful, wonderful thing. And so it's like, you know, you see people give something to someone, let's say they sent them a gift in the mail, but then 2 weeks later, they've actually got the shits because that person didn't say thank you. Mm. Well, they kind of miss the point of giving. Because right. if we're giving, expecting something in return, we're not really giving. So that giving without attachment has this completely different feeling to giving, because I'm going to get something from giving. And I see people get so stuck in business because they're giving, but their giving has an expectation attached to it. And then they get all cut up about it when their expectation doesn't come to fruition. And it all comes undone and gets messy. And I see people even, they don't understand they need to give to their business first so that their business can give back to them. Yeah. So they kind of treat their business like a racehorse. Like, let's say you bought a racehorse, Dave, and you starve, you bastard. I'm not going to feed you till you win. Get me some money and then I'll feed you. Like, you can't do that. You wouldn't do that to your racehorse. But people do that to their business. They're like, well, I'm not going to.
Yeah, it's like you know, give me heat and I'll give you wood, right? For a fire. Yeah. You give me the heat. Yeah. It's such a great concept, Jono. When you witnessed this as well, right? This idea about giving to business, giving to people, but the idea of giving first without the expectation. How was that hard for you to grasp? I mean, because you've got that gentle spirit. I mean, I would imagine that you've always been a giver, but were you ever not? Was there a time where you were a bit of an asshole?
I think truthfully, I could say probably no, Dave. Yeah. I think it's something that just lights me up. I mean, the return is to see the person's face. It's simply that easy. It's like to see someone light up like that. It's the human experience. Like, it's just to be able to say, here it is. I don't want anything in return. Just feel that beautiful energy and just walk away. It's one of the best things you can possibly do. It doesn't have to be money. It can be anything. Like, it's just the smallest gift, the smallest thing can make all the difference. And that's
actually, we could argue that if we took money aside, right? Yeah. And we put in fact, you had no money. In fact, we challenge everyone listening. They have to give to someone this week that something meaningful without any money. So they can't buy it. They can't buy a horse. They can't do anything, right? But they can give to have an impact on someone's life. I mean, that is what you're talking about, Jono, is the juice, which is really, and I think that's an evolved kind of giving. But what Jen said, which I love, is this idea is with the expectation gone. When we give, we're not waiting for oh, thank you so much. In fact, that's not what we're doing it for, right?
No, it's not at all. It's just, it's such a special thing to do, but so often we don't even think about it. We're so caught up in our day-to-day that, that you don't allow that time, and you should allow that time every day, to be able to do that, because it's that, as I said, it's that beautiful human experience, it's that gift to just be able to give and not expect. It just makes the world such a cool place.
I think there's another phase to this too, where it's one thing to be the giver and, you get the buzz because knowing that you do cool stuff, it makes me feel good about me. But then we have to learn to be
the receiver,
to graciously receive too, right? Because if we don't, we're denying other people the ability to have the gift of giving. And that took me a while to be okay with, because I was like, well, you have less than me. You don't need to give to me. I'll give to you, and I'll help you.
Yeah,
and
that's a great point.
But then then I realized that who am I to deny them that beautiful feeling of being able to give, and so then for me it was a journey to move into being able to receive.
And I think a lot of women are in that situation as well, right? Not just women, but men and women, but I see it a lot with women. But also, let's talk about compliments. When people walk up to me and they pay me a compliment, because I learned that, because I used to teach a program called The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. And part of that whole idea about is being a great, being able to learn how to receive, right? And give. It's kind of that sort of, the two halves of the whole. But, when people come up to me and give me a compliment, I just simply say, thank you.
Yeah.
But my brain wants to pay them a compliment back, because there's that feeling of, but I'm just saying, well, thank you so much, and leave it there. Right. And really accept it. And that was hard for me, because, I'd grown up where, if someone says, oh, you're looking great today. Oh, you too, so you almost the compliment comes and you bat it away quickly as you can to give the other person the compliment. Right.
Well, and that's the reciprocity thing. It doesn't have to be like straight back at you. Right. And when we realize, in fact, that it's not going to be, that's not the way the world works, then we can really utilize or allow ourselves to be in that power of understanding. But reciprocity is one of the coolest things. But when we give, it rarely comes back from where we gave it. It comes from all these other, and that's absolutely been our experience. All our gifts come from all sorts of different angles and places, and not necessarily ever from the person we gave it to. And that's okay. And people say, how can we pay you back? Well, you don't. Pay it forward. Create a little ripple somewhere, and then that will be so much. That's like a magnified version of this anyway, which is so much more impactful.
Yeah. And someone in our income bracket, let's say, the tax man or the accountants will often talk to us about, giving with a tax receipt. There's that. I actually find that quite challenging, because one of the things I love to do is give and not think about the tax receipt and not think about giving to conventional. So most of the giving I give is spontaneous, is where I see an opportunity to jump in financially. And it ends up at the end of the year, my accountant says, you could give money over here and you write this off. And I'm thinking, well, that's not the kind of giving I like. I love to give in the moment. It's like I see an opportunity and there's a moment right there. I have a sense or a feeling. And I'm only going to say this because, I know that I think we all agree that when we talk about how we give, like with the horse, what I love about that is it gives someone a thought. Oh my God, I rescued a horse. We retrain the horse, and then we give it to someone who can't afford a horse. And then that photograph comes, and it's kind of like, oh my gosh. So to give that idea, a lot of people wouldn't think that's a real something they can do. It could be rescuing a cat or a dog, right? Do you know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be all.
And also, sorry, I was just having a thought, Dave. One thing, a gift that you are incredibly good at, but you do it because of who you are, and you do it genuinely, is the gift of conversation. It's the gift. It's one thing that whenever I'm around you, I watch you, and you're genuinely interested in people. You just want to know what their story is, and you're incredibly good at asking quality questions. And people feel special when you ask great questions, and you just want to know about them, know about their story. That's a great gift of giving to people, to be able to do that. It doesn't cost anything. But it's such a beautiful, again, when we talk about that human experience, it's a beautiful gift to be able to give to someone to make them feel special, because people, we don't get asked great questions. We don't get great conversation. We don't get that great experience through the day.
If no one's ever cared enough to ask, we haven't then been able to experience the feeling of someone caring enough to ask.
Yeah.
And how would we then know how that would be a cool thing for us to give to someone else. And it's like the guy that I gave the horse to. He told me, he said, my brother said, what's up with that? And he said, what do you mean? He said, people don't just give horses away. And he's like, well, you don't know this girl. And the brother's like, there'll be something wrong with the horse. Like there'll be a catch. She'll want something. And he's like, no, you don't know this girl. So I think he can't wait to show his brother that. It's just a beautiful
I love
horse.
it. I love it. All right. I want you to carry on talking to the camera because I think our friend Dave's at the door. So this is as real as it gets, everyone. My doorbell's ringing. Just keep talking to each other. I'll be right back. Hold on a sec.
Are you going to bring him in?
Bring him. But the cool thing about giving is that it's teaching other people. Sometimes it's challenging the belief. So the guy's brother, it's challenging his belief and showing that human. I mean, what's the point of being here, right? What's the point of being on this earth?
Did you keep talking?
Oh. Yeah, we're still talking.
Absolutely.
I was just saying, what's the point of being here on this? What's the point of being here on this planet if we only look after ourselves, right? I don't want to be 80 on my deathbed and think, well, it took really good care of me. I want to be
Come over here. So it's about generosity. We're actually recording. Look who just showed up. Like,
hey, Dave.
Hello.
Good to see you, mate.
All right. So and so when I look at this, the opportunity, one of the things, again, going back to giving of spirit versus giving of money, I do think that there's that great chance for us as we make more money, and this is why making money and becoming more successful is powerful, because we can give more and we can give in greater ways, and we can give, I like to create life-changing moments with the giving, so it's kind of a radical, mind-blowing, unexpected, and often with strangers. And I find that to be, for me, the most fulfilling. As someone I've just met, I see an opportunity, and I'll tell a story, and I want each of us to tell one story as an example of some of our favorite ways to give, just because I think some people lack imagination. They just don't know. They think, well, giving, giving $1 in one of those little buckets is enough. But one of the ones that happened recently with me was, I can think of a lot, but I was in Mexico, and the taxi driver that picked us up, I just liked him. He didn't speak any English, and my Spanish is all right. I mean, it's rusty as whatever, right? But what happened was when I use a taxi driver in a country, I use the same people because I always think I can really contribute to a family if I use the same person. So I got his number, and I was using him all the time. And then, of course, as we got to know each other, we ended up inviting his kids and his wife to come out to a big water park because they couldn't afford to do it. So then we took them out for the day. And I'm sitting there alone with this woman. And in my Spanish, she doesn't speak any English. I was asking her about her life. Like you said, Jono, I mean, my whole thing is to find out the story. Who is she? What's going on? And I found out that she had been married. Her family lived in Tijuana in the north of Mexico. We were down in the south of Mexico in Cancun. And she hadn't seen her family in 14 years. And they had this family, and the reason she wouldn't go was she could afford to go, one of them, but they couldn't take the 2 kids and the husband, and she refused to go and visit her family without the kids. And so I decided in that moment, this would be my chance. This is the kind of giving I love. And I said, we looked into flights. That was really a lot of money. And so we looked at first-class bus fares. So we decided to buy them. And it just so happened, this is how synchronicity works. This is what I love about the power of giving is it seems like all the stars align to come together to make this work, is that there just happened to be a holiday, a national holiday that was coming up 4 days later. And so we managed to buy these tickets. But when I went to pay for them, my credit card wouldn't work in Mexico for buying bus tickets is a high fraud thing. And so my credit card wouldn't work. Yep. And so another Mexican guy, young guy, he said, guess what? Use my credit card. And when you get back to Canada, you can send. So he had to trust that I would go back to Canada and then send him all this money for these 4 tickets, right? Anyway, we got all the photographs of the whole family being together. So that would be an example of in a moment, just a thought, and then following through. I want you to maybe give one each now of your favorite. We heard about the horse, but what's another way of giving? It doesn't have to be extravagant, but that to really lit you up anyway.
Oh, look, one of my favorite things to do, and this is really simple, but it's so impactful because people tell me 8 years later, I remember that book you gave me. So when I find a book that I love, I just get an order 20 or 30 copies and I send them out to people with a little handwritten card. And, you know, it's little, it's tiny, but it has such an impact. And who doesn't love receiving a surprise little gift in the mail with a handwritten card? And you know, it's just a tiny little thing.
I think that example that Jen just used, then the power of a book, the power of education, the power of being able to give someone something that is going to make them better as well, as it's going to be able to. That's a really, really cool gift to be able to give.
The other thing I like to do is to back people with their ideas and just say, hey, you know what? So let's say I'm talking to someone and they're like, I think this could work. I've got this idea, and I'll just say, I'll chuck $2,000 at it. There you go. You can use that to kick you off, or just even using a skill set to, like my neighbor, she just decided she wasn't happy at her job and she wanted to start a dog washing business. So I was just able to help talk her through like how would you do that, and how would you find customers and what that would look like. And then, you know, we support her. Like, we don't really need our dogs washed once a week, like the full whole shebang. But that's what we do.
You got the cleanest. You should get her to wash your cows.
Yeah, exactly. But, you know, once a week she turns up and that supports her. It's a way that, you know, she can feel it was a way to kick off her business. And while her business is still in its she's an amazing horsewoman, so while her business is in its growing stage, hasn't got enough yet, I'm like, come and ride my horses as many times as you like and I'll pay you to ride them, because it's good for me, it's good for her. But then she can transition out of it. Just allowed her to have that transition. So there's so many ways we can be creative and create space. And it doesn't always have to be here's a gift. It can be creating a space where people feel that they're earning and deserving, I think, too.
Yeah.
I love that. And I again, as we sort of, I think we could talk about lots of concepts around that, but I love that backing a person, because that's something that's so easy to do. And sometimes if you have no money, you back them with encouragement. You back them with the hope. Maybe you go and buy a book on the subject and you say, hey, I was thinking about your business here. Because I think that's it. You know, a lot of people when they talk about their ideas, so often what people will do is they'll squash them because they want to be so cautious, or they want to be overly, you know, oh, you got to be careful. You know, it's like that with partnerships. I love partnerships. I have a lot of different partnerships, because I trust people 100%, you know, and I trust 100% of the people 100% of the time. And we should do a whole show just on trust, because I mean, trust is right. We should write that one down. But, you know, but now Dave showed up. Maybe this will be our last one today. But the idea that, you know, trusting, where was I going with that?
Trusting like 100% people.
But there's generosity, Dave, in that. There's generosity in giving our trust, and that is such a cool topic, because trust is something we choose to give, right? We can choose to not give it, or we choose to give it, and giving another human our trust. And I'm so with you on that. Just, I don't need all the agreements and all the stuff. I'm just, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And if something goes wrong, I'm going to wear that decision that I make, right? And wear the outcome and next.
I know I was talking about, John. I was saying about trusting people, like partnerships. But a lot of people, when I talk about it, and recently I bought a boat with a stranger because I want to start spending the winters in Antigua. I bought a boat with a guy I met on the plane. And it's turned out to be the coolest guy. I just knew when I met him that this guy was cool. We ended up buying a boat, and this is a liveaboard boat. This is a big investment because I want to spend. But people hear the story, and it's like, you know, partnerships, you know, no, because someone got screwed. Really? Well, I don't seem to get screwed in my partnerships because I go into them, but I don't have this massive expectation. But with that being said, we're going to run along on the show. I just want to thank you both. This has been awesome. I want to do more of these conversations. I mean, I think maybe we'll bring a couple of other friends on, and we'll just sit around in a circle and we'll just chat. And I think that trust, the next time we talk, let's have a big conversation about trust. Because I think that if people embrace trust the way that we do, and even though you've been hurt, people have hurt you, well, not hurt, but people have scammed you, but guess what? But we can still walk back into the world with absolute trust, not with this jaded approach to people, right? So,
yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Hey, I love you both. This has been awesome. I look forward to our next conversations. That's with a plural, that's with an S. But for everyone else listening, this is all about those incremental steps. Learn one thing. If you heard one thing on the show, implement it. Practice it, bring it to life. Watch what happens when we just take one small concept and we add to it. That's why the show is called My Extra Mile. And we will definitely see you on the other side.